Hello everybody, it's me, and it's time for me to tweak my overnight oats recipe. How did I get into overnight oats? As many, I've been on this fitness and wellness kick, and one of the things I began to notice the more I was working out, there was a law of diminishing returns at some point. And when I started counting my calories and looking at my macros, I realized I was probably not getting enough protein. One of the things that I've been doing is calorie reduction, completely reasonable. So there was a corresponding decline in the amount of protein I was getting, and that was causing me some problems. It's been said that women of my age, that is to say menopausal or postmenopausal women, really should probably jack up their protein requirements to keep our muscle mass and keep ourselves healthy, and I want to do that. But it can be difficult because a lot of protein-rich foods, not all, but many of those foods can be high in calories. So some protein supplementation using protein powder is an option, and you've seen me drinking my little shakes, but I've also found that protein powder works great in overnight oats. Overnight oats provide some of the carbs necessary for good workouts. Also, because they are not cooked, apparently there is some resistant starch there that makes it slower to absorb into your system. So it's a good food all the way around, and I really like it. I've been tweaking the recipe to try and get the calorie count down. The first batch I made was around 500 calories. The second batch that I've been making is about 400 calories. And I like to put toasted nuts on top, and that adds about 100 calories. And so I wanted to see if I could get the calorie count lower. So I'm making two big changes in the way I'm preparing the oats. First, I have switched to a purely whey protein isolate powder. The previous powder that I was using was a whey protein isolate with some whey protein concentrate, and it was about 120 calories per scoop. This here is 100 calories per scoop. Also has 1 extra gram of protein in it, so we're going to see how this works. The other thing is that I'm swapping out the oat milk, which has some fat added, to Almond Breeze Almond and Oat Original, which has about 45 calories a cup. Yeah, that's a pretty huge difference from 120 to 45 calories. So I'm going to see how that is. In addition to the oats and the oat milk and the protein powder, I do add chia seeds. Now they do add some calories, but I really like the texture. They add some protein, they add some nutrients, a lot of fiber. They're really quite delicious. They work great, and they give a more interesting silky texture. Hey Adrian, it's good to see you. That's one thing. And of course, if you happen to be vegan, there are other protein powders out there that aren't whey protein isolate. I've chosen to use that for my own reasons, but certainly there are a lot of other protein powders on the market that are vegan or non-dairy. By the way, I am lactose intolerant. I've had no problem with whey protein isolate because it's been stripped of the lactose. I've got the bag here, and I'm going to see if I can get that little scoop to come up. It's always very dramatic getting the scoop out of the protein powder, but here we go. I've got this, and it doesn't have any flavoring in it. It has no sweetening. It is just soy lecithin and the whey protein isolate. I'm going to be adding some additional flavoring to my recipe. The other thing that I like to add is this stuff from Four Sigmatic. It is an organic mushroom blend, and let's see what it's got in here. I'm really digging this. It's intended for focus and stress relief. It's got reishi mushrooms, chaga mushroom, tulsi, which is holy basil, moringa, ashwagandha, alithro amla, schizandra. It's also, I believe, got some organic yacon juice powder and some organic cinnamon. So this I'm absolutely loving. Now I started adding it to my overnight oats, and I noticed it was making them the first night it was slightly bitter, but then I let it sit another night and they were fine. So that kind of went away. So I'm going to be adding this. This is enough to make 4 servings of overnight oats. And so I'm going to get a serving of this in each serving of overnight oats. I'm loving the Four Sigmatic products, and I don't have any affiliation with them at this point or anything like that, but they do a really good cold brew coffee with Yacon and lion's mane. I've had they're one of their focus powders. I think that they've got some really good products. I'd recommend checking them out. So I've already put this into the bowl along with the oats, and you always want to use rolled oats. I like steel cut oats as much as anybody, but you need the rolled oats for this because that's what's going to absorb the liquid. Really quite tasty. Now, as I mentioned, I'm going to use 8 scoops of this powder because I like to double up on that protein. You can use just 1 scoop, of course, but I like to do 2 because I'm a bit extra. It's a nice, soft, poofy powder. And I'm going to mix that up. Yeah, I'm really finding that since I started with the protein supplementation, I'm feeling about 5 million times better. And I think the resistant starch in the oats, the chia seeds really hold the appetite very well. So why did I choose almond and oat? One of the reasons is that pure almond milk can have a little bit of a bitter edge because that's what almonds are like. And with this, the mushroom powder, I didn't want to exacerbate that. And the oat, I figured would cut that a bit. It also makes a much more creamy milk, vegan milk. So there we are. And for my flavor, I am going to add a little bit of vanilla, hopefully to offset some of the flavors. I'm just going to do a quick 1/4 teaspoon. And for my sweetener, I'm using Sweet Leaf, Sweet Drops. This is English Toffee stevia. If you've tried stevia powder, you're probably aware it can have a kind of a strong aniseed flavor. I found that the drops don't have that. And I got the English toffee flavor because English toffee is very close, in my view, to brown sugar. And I like brown sugar in my oatmeals. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12. I'm going to try 12. Got my little frother here that I use as a hand blender, and I'm going to see if this gets things sweet enough, because I'm using an unsweetened, unflavored protein powder. Oh, really, that's quite nice. That's quite nice. I'm going to add a couple more drops of the English toffee, but yeah, it's definitely got the vanilla and the brown sugar thing going on in here. And I think that's going to hold me pretty well. I'm going to pour all of this in here. And you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, there it is. Don't worry about all of this coming together. I do not need a blender. In fact, I'd probably recommend against a blender, if only because it would destroy the texture of the rolled oats. And I just use my little ladle here to stir everything up. And I'm just going to put it in jars. And it's really just incredibly easy way to make my breakfast every day. I like that a lot. And I'll clean up the sides after this, but yeah, here it is. These are going to go in the fridge, and I'm going to let them go for 2 nights, only because, again, I use that mushroom powder that I have found mellows out beautifully after 2 nights. I will be reporting to everybody about how successful this tweaked recipe is, and I'll also have the macros in terms of protein and cutting those calories down a little bit, and we'll see how this goes. Also, by the way, the IsoPure is pretty affordable. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it at Walgreens for about $35 a bag. I think this was more like $25, $26 on Amazon, but it is easily available in drugstores. So, you know, if you don't have to necessarily order it from someplace else. And it's affordable. It's not super expensive. All right, I want to thank Adrian and anybody else who checked in and who is going to be watching this. Hey, Edward, good to see you. This is my first cooking video here in my new kitchen, and I don't really have it set up yet, but I figured, what the heck, I'm going to be making, where did my other lid go? Can't find it. Oh, there it is. But I'm going to be making this. I might as well share and get some practice and see what I need to do. But yeah, this is going to go in the fridge, and I'll be eating it in a couple of days, and I'll share it with you. Again, along with those macros, so you can see how many calories, how much protein, the fiber, and that sort of thing. All right, thank you all so much for joining, and I'm looking forward to doing more. Good to see you, Adrian, again. And yeah, Adrian, I will tell you, just for you, I will do a vegan overnight oats. We'll try some vegan protein powder as well at some point. All right, take care, folks. Bye-bye.